You know, it's been a couple months since I've gone on League of Legends. Maybe I should see what's going on there. Wait, hold on. They're making actually good champions? And, like, Season 12 isn't a flaming pile of shit? Hello, inbound flops. I am Zach, not Kyle, or Zach for short. And yes, I'm back on League YouTube now. I decided to finally come back and show my face hole, now with a bucket hat and chibi facial expressions. Today we are discussing the first two champion releases of Season 12 of League of Legends, Zeri and Renata Glask. There's a lot to unpack when it comes to this double release of champions that has the League of Legends community rejoicing, flaming, crying, shitting, and more. I'm gonna go over what Riot did right and wrong with both champions, my thoughts on dual releases in general, and where I think the champion releases for Season 12 are heading. Before we get into it, let's do some 6 months old housekeeping. No, I'm not doing arcane videos, it's been done to death. I also want to discuss a lot of what happened before the preseason. And finally, I didn't like Pentakill, but I don't hate them. Let's not make fan wars, kids. Also, make sure to subscribe to become not Kyle. If you are Kyle, that is illegal, as you can tell by the name of my channel, so subscribe or forever hold your peace, you traitors. I'm also on Instagram at ZachNotKyle and on Twitter at ZachNotKyleInc, so go follow me for garbage in your inbox. Now, with that promotion housekeeping out of the way, let's actually praise Riot Games for once. So let's go in release order, starting with Zeri, the Spark of Zaun. Zeri is a girl who was born in the cruel world of Zaun, and her family was large and working class family with a lot of love and bonds. In her biography, we learned about her powers, her desire to help people struggling, and her fight against the Chem Barons. She is a wild card and finds her gifts hard to contain, which helped construct her appearance. Honestly, her appearance isn't far off what I would expect from a middle-class Zaun teenager. Obviously, the huge-ass gun is a noticeable difference, but I like how her lore makes it feel as if she's the pedestrian with the secret, and her design reflects that. It's giving some punk 90s fashion with a bit of Missy Elliott vibes in there. I live. The hair is a statement, and a headshot of her makes her immediately recognizable. So next is her launch skin. Holy fucking shit, I nearly died looking at it. It is immaculate. This might be the best release skin since Zoe, and that's definitely saying something. It's giving an avant-garde bondage situation with a controlling vibe that meets possessed demon villain in an anime. Like, I can't stop thinking about it. Another interesting bit involving Zeri is the neon situation. Initially, people were calling out Riot for making two nearly identical characters in their games. However, it was revealed by Riot that Zeri and Neon were designed by the same team, as a nod to League and Valorant players playing both games most of the time. Zeri and Neon are supposed to be opposite reactions to their similar situations. There's a lot of nods to each other, electricity, and their positive and negative charges. Neon is negative while Zeri is positive, with the two being opposite emotions and reactions. I think this was a good idea, and while it might have been met with initial backlash, I think it's grown on people more. Overall, I think that Zeri is a very good character design and a great addition to League, and technically Valorant. Renata Glask, the Chem Baroness, is quite the doozy to discuss. While reading her lore, I find her to be known as Capitalism, the character. Renata built herself up from very little and grew a monopoly over Zaun, and eventually earned the loyalty of many by using tricks only the wealthiest and genius could use. She established Glask Industries, and now she herself is seen as a Chem Baroness over the Chem Barons because of her empire she built for herself. Renata actually gave me Alawi vibes because of her wisdom, strength, and intimidation, but where Alawi is strength by muscle, Renata is strength by brains and strategy. This is definitely shown in her design. Renata is the elite powerful businesswoman meets evil empress meets Chanel designer rich bitch. It's quite exquisite. Renata's kit was seen as kind of controversial because it was inspired and took pieces from the Chemtech Drake that was in the Season 12 preseason. A lot of people did not like it as a Drake because it heavily affected certain champions by randomness, and as a Mastery 7 Rengar main, Chemtech Drake gets a -2 out of 10 on the fucking not ever done again throw it away scale. However, Renata adapted a bad concept and made it so suited to her character and made it work well. Her zombies, her manipulation of the enemies, it's brilliant. Her launch skin, Admiral Glask, I'm certainly a bit less thrilled about. It's a change of pace for her established demeanor, which isn't a bad thing, but it becomes a bad thing when that change of pace is boring. It's not very exciting and looks quite dull. Not the greatest launch skin, but I don't hold it against you if you like it. It's just not in my top recommendations. So now we know a little bit about these characters, and so let's talk about the impact of these two characters as they exist in the game. There are a couple ways that I establish a character as impactful. The first is those who change the way the game is played for others. Pike gives gold to others upon killing enemies, Orin changes items in the game, Alawi drops tentacles all over the map, etc. There's also characters characters that change the way they play. These are characters that also aren't understood unless you play them. For example, LeBlanc's ultimate is just a duplicated ability. Renekton and Tryndamere have forms of healing as mana replacements. Akali, Kennen, and more use energy as a mana replacement. Rengar uses a ferocity system, etc. These characters tend to not be understood because they literally don't play the game normally. The last one is those who don't change the game but serve as an introductory character for new players. Think Lux, Mixed Fortune, Nico, etc. They're used to get your bearings to the game. Zeri definitely serves in two of these categories and potentially the last one as well. She changes the way she plays with her Q and her auto attack functions. On top of that, a lot of people find Zeri annoying because her engage and escaping with her E is insane. She literally changes a fight with one press of a button. Renata fits the hard to learn, easy to master category of characters, and she changes the way the game works for others with her RN zombification of champions. They change the game and make a statement for sure, which is something a lot of the 2021 champions definitely could not say. So now let's move on to the negatives, because with every piece of gold, there is some shite. There were a lot of complaints regarding Zeri's state in the meta upon release. Her win rates were obscene because of her Trinity Force build that Riot wasn't exactly expecting. She was supposed to be a critical strike champion, actually. The backlash was immense enough to prompt Riot to go back to the drawing board and figure out what to do with her. So in patch 12.3, Zeri is nerfed quite a bit to push her towards being a crit champion rather than running Trinity Force. Renata didn't really have the same situation, and she was pretty balanced upon release. The other critique that I actually have of these two is definitely Zeri and Renata's release dates. Let's talk about dual champion releases for a second. I classify a dual champion release as champions released within 2 to 3 patches of each other. For example, Rel and Viego, Lilia and Yone, and Senna and Aphelios are all recent examples. These tend to have one champion become more popular than the other due to multiple factors including skin releases, meta popularity, and playability. This is true for many champions in the game, but the effects definitely sting for champions released at the same time where a popularity contest ensues between the two. For example, Yone and Lilia. Yone and Lilia were both released in the Spirit Blossom event, but Yone obviously won over Lilia strictly because of how broken he is. Lilia is definitely a harder character to play upon release. Senna also won over Aphelios and Viego over Rel. So let's use Zeri and Renata as an example. Zeri is definitely winning over Renata for a few reasons. The first is definitely the difficulty Renata presents over Zeri. Renata definitely has a lower win rate as well. The thing with Renata is that she literally changes the game when she enters. Renata definitely presents a harder to learn, easy to master sort of mindset, whereas Zeri is mostly an easy character once you get the hang of her. I also think that Renata's skin definitely hurt her. Zeri's was really well received. However, it also boils down to positions. Zeri and Renata were released for different positions, with Zeri being an ADC having a playability advantage due to how underpopulated the ADC role is. Renata, a support, is having a harder time breaking into the scene. Zeri is only the 22nd official ADC, and Renata is joining such a large group that breaking into the meta and finding a fan base is quite difficult, even with how unique she is. Release timing is also very important. Renata was released at the end of an event, while Zeri was released right before Lunar Rebel 2022 with the new skins, which amplified her popularity since she was more featured, along with all of this brand new content. Renata came in later in the event when Zeri was ruling the meta, and everyone found her easier to play than Renata, and Renata also did get some flack because of the whole Chemtech Drake situation. So overall, dual champion releases can be quite unbalanced depending on who you are. So in conclusion, Renata is what I think my last brain cell is doing, and Zeri is what my last brain cell is actually doing. I genuinely think this is a good path that Season 12 is heading towards, where champions are changing the game rather than simply living in the same universe, which is something that 2021 definitely struggled with. And if Riot just keeps doing what they're doing, making good champions, and making new ways to change the game, then I think this could be one of their most successful seasons ever. And with that, that's going to be it for me today, everyone. Make sure to follow me on everything to stay up to date, and I'll be here for you next time to give you the takes you never knew you needed. Now get out there, get on the rift, and be a nice human. Bye, sis.